This is a block of Fujis. They're starting to thin. June drop. In this block, we're trying to get everything down to a single apple. Seems to be thinning pretty well. We have some mildew strikes on the Honeycrisp next to the Fujis. Try to throw those out, get them somewhere where the sun can kill them off. Some of the Honeycrisp here are really thinning out a little bit too heavy, and there's some gypsy moth damage from early in the season. This is a real heavy gypsy moth season for us. By this time, it's pretty easy to tell which one of these apples is going to come off and which one's going to stay. So I would have preferred to have 2 apples, maybe even 3 in the Honeycrisp, and not a single, like this tree here. I would rather have the doubles, less likely to get bitter pit, and Honeycrisp tend to get too large. When they get too large, they're prone to get a thing called bitter pit. These are some rosy apple aphids here. These rosy apple aphids, they get in pretty early in the season and they curl up in the leaves. You can see how sticky they get, and they will start to deform the fruit. You can see them on the side there. Most of these are dying. They've been hit with an insecticide that's killed them off. But usually you're not going to get them all. You can see some inside these leaves right here. There's some fresh ones coming in because that's new growth. That just came out, so after the insecticide application. So when you're using softer chemistry, it's you have to do a lot of repeated applications because it's not effective on new growth. So as your trees grow, and if they're healthy, the healthier they are, the more they're going to grow, and typically, and then you're going to get problems with pests and disease because you don't have coverage from softer chemistry. So these are coming off. Any of these purple ones here, it looks like some limb rubbing. Some sort of mechanical damage. It's not apple scab. It's not some sort of either wind whipping or it's better with this system here. I got to be careful. Anything that's too close to the post, I have to either cushion the fruit or I have to take it off, and I'll usually wait a little bit later to make that decision. Sometimes the fruit gets a problem, and then you might as well take off whatever the ugliest apple is. We've got a good system of drainage here. This block really used to have a lot of wet feet. This is a tough block as far as keeping the trees from getting root rot and being less productive and ultimately dying. I don't know what it looks like. We got maybe, that might have been some mouse damage. No, it wasn't. Does not look like mouse damage. It's got kind of a look like it could be fire blight, but I'm thinking more likely it was tractor blight. Tractor blight is any sort of mechanical damage you do with a piece of equipment that, even if it doesn't kill the tree in the beginning, it opens up like a scar, and then that scar gets infected or even weakens the tree. You can see these are falling off this size, and then this size is going to stay on here. Again, I would have liked to prefer more like these twos here. This is good for Honeycrisp. You can get more production, and you can get your size down to a 100 count or a 113 count rather than trying to produce 80s or 56s. Anything that's higher than an 80 usually has a lower return due to pack out, and also our markets we more cater towards tote bags in the fall, and there's pouch bags, also school lunch programs, and the tray business usually goes to Washington State, especially out of season, and so the demand is there. We do provide a lot of tray fruit. But we don't. We specialize more in the smaller to mid-size apples. That's kind of been how our market's grown, and we've had difficulty growing a very large apple like an 80 count or a 72 count of the sizes like you'd see Fuji's and Honeycrisp, Galas in the store, without severely lowering our production. So it's been very difficult in the Northeast to get high production and good fruit size. Usually you can get one or the other. You don't get a lot of apples and you get really nice, big, beautiful apples, or you get a lot of smaller ones and you get a huge production, and then you don't get anything next year if you overproduce. But if you can maintain an apple in like the 113 to 100 count, then you got a lot of options. That apple can go into a bag, it can go into a box. You know, you've got more options, and our markets aren't always very kind to large fruit, which is another issue. We're set up now to do under tree irrigation. We've been putting some sulfur through the line. This block is low on sulfur, so we're trying to get our sulfur levels up. We're trying to, the nitrogen's pretty good. Things are really growing almost excessively. This is just the beginning of June. These poles are 7.5 feet, and they're in many places exceeding the pole. So we've been topping these trees and getting more branching at the top of the tree, and trying to eventually then put more buds in those where those new branches have come out, and get production. These trees here are Evercrisp. It looks like something. I don't know what that is. That could have been something that was attacking it, and then it maybe got attacked itself, and then wasn't able to finish the job. This here does not look like plum cuculio. I would say it could be hail, but it's more likely some sort of insect. Either way, this apple's going to fall off the tree, so we don't have to worry about it. But it is interesting. There's a lot of stuff like this that you get that has, it can be a lot of things, but it doesn't. Plum cuculio is usually what comes in early, and it doesn't look like tarnished plant bug. So those would be the two things that you would see here. Oh, look at that. It looks like we got a baby bird. Okay. Well, I did say this was a good block for the birds, because they like to perch on the pivot, and we have a 80-acre woods across the street here that's got very tall trees, and we often get a lot of bald eagles and that sort of thing, but we don't always have them nest right in the tree. So I guess what we're going to do is let this little guy here, if we can see him, there he is. Yeah, we're going to let them, oh, they think I'm here to feed them. I better not touch him or get close to him. But